to We Speak Tangent podcast, where we talk to neurodivergent entrepreneurs. Hello folks, welcome to this week's edition of We Speak Tangent. I'm Michael.
I'm James.
And I'm Kat.
Welcome along. This is a podcast brought to you by the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network in partnership with the South of Scotland Enterprise. So that's NEN in partnership with SOSE, giving a platform to all neurodivergent entrepreneurs, and hopefully it's a fabulous learning tool. This week we have with us as a guest Dawn Eva Berry, who is clearly neurodivergent, although you will figure that out. I'm not a doctor, but I mean, you can be too. But is the owner of Maiden Mother Crone, which is a wonderful thing that I'm sure we will talk about. So who's going to ask the first question?
Let me ask the first question.
Go.
I'm interested because these guys kind of know you, but I don't, so I deliberately sat a wee bit quiet just so I could ask a question and find out. So tell us a bit about your background and your business. We want to know all of it.
Oh, my background. I left home at 16 and joined the military.
Wow.
So that was the thing. I joined the Royal Marines Band Service. And then
Which instrument?
Solo clarinet.
Nice.
I did that, 6 years, and then I did some security stuff when I left, and it's very systemized in the military, as you can imagine. But yeah, it was really different coming out, actually leaving. So there was a good transition there. And then I joined Trash Arts. And went self-employed. So that was when I had just first moved to the Scottish borders, actually. So I think that would have been about 2008, 2009, something like that. What is time? But true. Trash Arts was it was a non-profit using. Its tagline was music from minimal means, but we actually did loads of stuff that I think is a bit similar to what you were saying that you do, actually. It's like we did sort of theatre stuff. We did, I don't know if you saw any of the trash drumming stuff. So stomps. So we used to do workshops in schools, and it was like that sense of community task, like getting everybody to bang the drum at the same time, and kids really, feeling the power, especially when you're a young kid. Yeah.
Totally. Man.
And it was just, so you basically all the creativity stuff. We did loads of drawing and artworks and exhibitions. We did some films, loads of music stuff, and it was great. It was going around all the different schools, nurseries. We did a nursery adventure as well. That was really good. Working with some music therapists, and we did loads of stuff. We played at the Olympics, Glasgow Olympics, doing stuff on the street workshops.
That's a delightful way to just take that out of your back pocket. Yeah, we started with that. We played at the Olympics. Zing! Okay.
I wish we'd brought a bucket.
Yeah. I don't.
The Commonwealth Games, though.
It was really good,
nice.
though. The Commonwealth Games. And then I started doing more stuff on my own, self-employed working. I think I found that I really excelled in working with the really difficult to reach kids. So kids in school that were really struggling and to engage in the normal programs.
Why was that?
I wonder why that
is.
But no, I did.
Almost like you're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of stuff as well with different charities and Survivors Unite as well. There's some amazing charities out there, supporting people in really important ways. But so I use sort of creativity as a tool to access the more abstract parts of the human experience, really. And actually, personally, I am way deep into that stuff. I love anything, all the occult things, anything. So psychology, anything that looks at the the things behind what is seen in the world and in humans and behaviour and everything.
Yeah,
So
the anthropology of it all.
Instead of just taking it as black and white.
Exactly, yeah. And it's definitely born from the feeling of like, I'm not just this, and like feeling like people are projecting onto me and they don't actually understand me, or you know, being misinterpreted a lot.
People project onto themselves.
Yeah,
And it's like trying to come up for oxygen.
Yeah, yeah. But the more, I mean, I found so much in, you know, alchemical practices, and it's like very symbolic, but that's the nature of abstraction. They don't have solid words in them. So I do a lot of studies with that, like Theosophy. I did a talk last night at the Theosophical for the Theosophical Society in Edinburgh.
What's that?
It's so that was this is another thing that it started in the 1800s by Madame Blavatsky.
Wow.
So a woman in the 1800s just got married. She was like, "Don't like this. I'm leaving him. I'm going traveling." And she's the reason we've got yoga in the Western world today. So she just basically went and collected information and knowledge from all the different spiritual, like, different religions and spiritual practice all around the world, and started like documenting them and like trying to interpret them in a more Western way of understanding. And so they're still going now. I think the headquarters is in Adar in India. But there's one in Edinburgh, there's one in Glasgow, there's one in London. They're everywhere. So yeah, that was an interesting find as well. I think I grew up in a very male-dominated environment and joined the military not long after. It was literally not long after women were only just allowed in as well. So I've had a lot of that. And then working in security, it's like literally, Dawn, could you put yourself in any more male-dominated environments? But yeah, so it was, that's been interesting.
So how, all those are wonderful transferable skills that you have, and I'm sure we'll dive further into them. So how did Maiden Mother Crone come to exist as an actual business thing?
Entity.
Yeah.
And what is it?
Maiden Mother Crone.
What is it?
I was getting to that.
Yeah. So
That was a stealth tactic.
I'll start with how did it become. Okay, so I had been working on loads of different projects, self-employed, and I was getting to the stage of just feeling like, you know, what is this all for? It's just another project after another project. And I think especially with the types of people I was working with, I was feeling the impact of realising that you can put something on that really empowers people, and then the project ends and they've got nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And it is
100%.
it's really difficult
It's
to
heartbreaking.
You've just described the entirety of the third sector.
Well,
No, genuinely, you can
yeah.
put something on that means something,
Yeah.
but then if it's not commissioned again,
Which is also is
Yeah.
the issue with endless well-being projects without
When you
actually
get well.
doing the
It
therapy
actually
that
is.
people
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And it's like right at the end, they walk into a dark room without turning the light on. You know, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
It's even as like a neurodivergent, you walk me into a dark room and it's
Yeah,
there's no
unless,
light, and
unless
then they
you
put the light on.
change the life that
The
you're going
light's on
back
first,
into.
aye.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my wee tangent coming to mind because we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah. So that was brewing very loud in me. It's something that I'd really noticed, and it was getting me down, to be honest. I was really, and also actually, I had been talking about, you know, I'm going to put on a creative workshop, and it's having to talk about it in buzzword ways. It wasn't really talking about it from what I was delivering. So what I was doing was never recognised. So, you know, you'd write reports on how successful it was because of how many, you know, like, I don't know, tick box people that, and it's like, and I was finding myself getting irritated writing those out because I was like, don't talk about people like that. I don't want to say that, like, if this was successful because they were, you know, somehow disadvantaged.
Yeah.
And now I did, like, it feels gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really struggled with that. And so I'd been doing loads of different projects like that. That was going on in the background, and COVID hit as well. And I was
that little thing. Yeah.
And I really wanted to start being more honest and authentic with what it was that I'm doing. I'm looking at the deeper aspects of life, and they are more spiritual. And I wanted to talk about that more. So I started to, come out the closet as an alchemist, which is what I've been doing, transformational work. And it's that, anyway, with my own self and how I'd been doing that previously anyway, it just felt more authentic to talk about that in the ways that it, this is what I'm doing. And yes, we're using creativity as a tool to get there. And that's because the reason it's valuable is because it holds on to the abstraction. And anyway, so I was getting right into all that and being like, yeah, okay, finding myself. And I was put in touch with Mary Craig, who is a historian and author.
I think I've got.
Yeah?
Mary is genuinely brilliant.
Yeah, she's
That's
great.
part of the reason why this whole thing works. But again, we'll drill deeper into it.
So
Yeah.
basically, she was like, I've heard that you're, interested in these kinds of things.
Right.
She has written books on the witchcraft trials of the Scottish borders, and she is like
she's
the
awesome.
expert in witchcraft trials. And actually, after having our first meeting, it became evident that it was anyone that had been pushed to the outskirts of society, and I was like, this woman. Like, this is,
Right there in the fields.
we can do some stuff here, and so we realised that we were in line with sort of the same sort of goal to realise that we can't just keep pushing people to the outskirts, that they're the champions who bring new in. They're the people. So we started, talking openly about social systems and structures and the experience of what that's been like. Mary really is driven to tell the stories that have been taken away from people, and to reclaim people that have been pushed out from societal memory and history and all those things. And I brought in my aspect of chaos is divine. It's this thing that everyone's avoid it at all costs. It's trauma. It's this. It's that. And it's that's the birth of where anything new
That's
comes
the growth
from.
in it. I always say that's the
where
growth.
the good stuff is.
Absolutely.
And so looking at some of the people that she'd researched and being like, oh, these people were so brave. We were talking about some of the witches that the stories she'd recorded, and at a time where women couldn't do anything. There's this woman here that's the pillar of the community, who's the shopkeeper, the bank. She does all of this. Oh, she's a witch.
And it's funny because
know?
I always say we're all connected. Me and our team are literally just in the last week or so, we've been talking about this woman.
Have you?
We've been talking about the witch trials. It's it's just when you come into rooms like this and you get our tribe together, you find that we have more in common than just a bit of paper. It's energy and feels and watching everybody just nodding their head.
So how long has Maiden Mother Crone existed?
Well, we
officially.
So we were like, we need to do a project.
Yeah.
And we initially started and we were working on a project we called Which Way. And we were applying to Creative Scotland some funding to do it as a creative, project. Can't remember the exact fund. It was the public creative funding, something.
It's changed now. It's got
Yeah. So we actually spent 2 years working on the funding application that got rejected.
Most of them do.
It was heartbreaking, but the conversations that we had in that time and the way we really started to pull apart what is important, what do we need to do, and and we realized we got to the point of it's we need to start holding conversations with specialized viewpoints, but from so many different angles that it's really accessible to see something from a zoomed out perspective that's inclusive. How do we create community that includes every individual within the whole. So we want to build a community.
See with that, what you've just said there, you said 2 years. That's a long time in any human existence. But as a neurodivergent, what did that feel? I'm interested. What did that feel like? Like, 'cause somebody
That's a
listening will be
very
like,
deep dive.
what does that feel like? Because like, and as soon as you said that, like the fidget toys were getting hammered, and
Right.
everybody was like,
I
that
know,
energy is
it's-
what we want
It's
to know.
actually heartbreaking to. I think there's an element of feeling real, like of helplessness in the.
Oh, yeah.
This is so important, not just to me, to Mary, and actually so many other people that we spoke to.
Yeah.
It was like, this is so important.
Yeah.
Like, we really need help or support to, like, bring this into fruition, and we did sort of, it was really the way we were asked to talk about it in the funding application was
What about you,
so
though?
difficult.
It's a different
What about you?
language.
What about you as a neurodivergent?
Well,
Because
yeah.
I know what it feels like for me if something goes a length of time and then I'm like, and I can't breathe and I'm suffocated. So what did it feel like for you to go 2 years, which is a long
And
length
then
of time?
it was
And then
so. Well, we got the email saying that it's not been accepted, and I mean, we could have just made a few tweaks and tried to reapply, but it was, it is so competitive, the fund and everything. And I put my foot down. I was like, this is more important than that. And something flipped in me where it was like, this is important.
Edge of chaos. It's
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
It is.
You're
And
pushed to that level.
we were
of
pushed,
fight or flight.
yeah. And it was like this, and I had that thing brewing in me as well that I'd said about, I don't want this to be another thing that it's just one project and then disappears. It needs to last longer than that. It needs held more than that. Like, so I was like, Mary, I think we should just set up a CIC. I think we should try and make this. We should just do it anyway.
well done.
Doesn't
It's
matter.
the continuity is
Yeah,
important.
and we have actually, the first phase of the funding that we'd applied for was basically sort of like these debates from specialised viewpoints, and we've done about 8 of them already, and we just went on Eventbrite, and people have paid for tickets to come along, and actually people I've got a mythologist who's been on Sky TV. We've had Dr. Jenny Butler, who's like head of the game in for like academia in the occult world, and she's been on loads of documentaries. But she wanted to come on. She's a specialist in fairy lore and folklore of Ireland and Scotland, and it's like, whoa, this is I mean, we've had some really impressive people on the panels for these debates, none of them have been paid. They just, this is important work that
That's
we
nice,
need.
passionate people that
Yeah.
want to spread it. The world needs more people
So
like that.
we do have support, and it's not in the way. We haven't had any financial support whatsoever. Not anything. It's been really, really difficult, and like it's. I think it's just a case of realising that the support comes in other ways and things like this. There is support out there. It just maybe looks a bit different until we. I don't know, figure out how to tell the funders how important this is. Yeah.
Without taking them hostage and actually taking
Yeah.
them.
I'm game for it. How many of us are
We
here?
have a particular set of skills. Us and the fairies are coming to get you.
But I think it's too. I think. I mean, I can't see it from funders' point of view because it's too important.
Yeah.
But I think there is, in the sort of financial world that we are, people don't want to take risks anymore. And I think you're confronting something that needs to be said. But when people look at it, they go, "Oh, that's highbrow. That's like, what are you trying to do?" Because it is brilliant. I mean, I first met you because you did a talk for one of the organisations that I'm involved in, and it was in People's. And there was that horrible thing of, I don't like anything new unless it's brilliant. So I think I shook your hand, had a coffee, and then I listened to it for the first 20 minutes, and I went, this is awful. This is genuinely uncomfortable. And then I went back in, and after getting that stim out of my mind, I go, no, actually, this is brilliant. Like, if you can separate yourself, but it was the zooming out thing. It was the learning from history in order to inform your future.
Yeah.
The only way out is through.
Yeah. But that was the genius thing. And I mean, for people it's about making it accessible. Because it was highbrow. I mean, for the first 20 minutes, it was too highbrow for me. I was like, oh my God, okay, coffee now, leave them. But it is brilliant. The work that you do is fabulous. And I'm sure that it will be funded. It just has to go in front of the correct funder.
And
That's the point.
The world always doesn't like what it doesn't understand,
No.
but we make them understand, don't it?
Yeah, and I think if you're looking at somebody making realizations about themselves like that, like as a scientist, that's really hard to quantify.
Yeah.
And people now want quantifiable data.
Yeah.
And they want, like, somebody was struggling to live and now they're not struggling to live as much. But if it's like, well, no, actually their entire worldview has changed and that's made their life better, like, that is just not even on the radar.
But that's the funder thing. That's what I was just saying, which is, how many people did it affect? Did it affect everybody in each sector?
Yeah.
If you were to go to a funder, no, it saved somebody's life. It's like, no, actually...
What, just one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that how you can justify
I've had
the
those
money?
conversations, yeah.
But we saved somebody's life. Yeah, but just one. I mean, why? Yeah.
Right.
It's the funding structure. It's the system, unfortunately, that the people are...
I think,
fighting against.
Yeah,
now,
it's
which
the
is good.
actual whole social system that we have just now. We have, like, and that is actually what we're trying to change at Maiden Mother Crone. So it's like we want to move away from the dualistic, linear, mindset into a more unity conscious mindset. And, make room for each individual in the whole, instead of like enforced order to avoid chaos. We want to leave room for chaos, which, science has realized, yes, this is important. Life lives on the edge of chaos, like innovation, all the creativity, all those things live on the edge of chaos. And we need to feed, like, we need to leave room for that. We're not, anyway. I could go off on one here, and I think we need to...
There's still room later on. Like,
I think we're going to stop for a break, but before we do, can you give your business a wee plug? Where can they find you?
Oh, well, we are on... We've just created a little website there. There's not much on it yet. I'm working on it. So that's maiden-mother-crone.org. And we have a Facebook page, which is Maiden Mother Crone CIC, as well as Instagram as well, Maiden Mother Crone CIC. And... yeah. Oh, there is a little thing on LinkedIn. That's a bit new, getting in the LinkedIn world, giving it a try. And we've got an email address as well. If you want to get in touch, is info@maiden-mother-crone.org.
So you can find them everywhere.
Yeah.
And as we exit part one, just to let you know that all of the links and socials will be in the show notes, that you can actually click without going, I've forgotten a dash, help me, how do you spell Maiden Mother Crone?
That's me,
I mean, I might have said it wrong, I don't know.
So join us in part two. Well, we'll be talking to Dawn about neurodivergence, other things, probably a bit of alchemy, science, and yes, so please join us in part two. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Welcome back to part two of We Speak Tangent. We are here still with Dawn Eva Berry. Thank you for being with us once again. Now, let's see. Could you please describe your journey to recognising your neurodivergence?
I think we're in a cafe and you told me
Yeah.
to,
No, that's exactly what happened. So after I'm not a doctor, internet people, but it was at Heart of Hoyk, of all places.
Yeah.
After you did the talk, I then felt really sort of...
Empowered.
No, I felt guilty. It was nothing to do with being empowered. Because I had
For the patriarchy, or?
No, it wasn't. No, I don't do feelings. But it was... As I said in part one, the sort of Easter eggs of fit people, the first 20 minutes that Dawn was doing their talk on, I can't remember, it was
James Barry.
There we go, thank you, that one.
Yes.
And I said, it's absolute hokum, this is terrible. And then I realised that it was genius, so I then arranged to meet you for coffee, and we didn't speak about the talk. We were there for like 2 hours. And then
Tangents occur.
Very much. And then at the end, I said, I'm neurodivergent, so you must be. I mean, it's very specific, and you're very...
we do tend to find each other.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, Dawn is one of the most, and I say this with respect, extreme cases of neurodivergent, because it's so specific.
I guess, yeah, I think I'm also a natural systems thinker, which is very, the opposite of linear thinking. I can't do that. Like, I really struggle. I can, like, sort of, get back to that, but everything's connected. So I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. But yeah,
So since me, have you then went back and
explored further?
Yes.
Yeah,
Qualified my genius. I mean, have you read about what it could be?
It's funny actually. After we had that meeting, I said to one of my friends, I was like, someone called me autistic. It's like probably I aren't I actually? And my friend Enid was like, Dawn, like if most of your friends are autistic.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah.
True.
She's autistic.
I think most of us have had that experience.
And I was like,
I love how
who else is autistic?
I love how you tried to qualify my opinion, and your friend was like, yeah, it might be an idea.
Actually, it's difficult when you think about this. Like we used to diagnosis of things like that coming from an external body, which again, it's another capitalist way of taking some power away from me.
It's problematizing.
Yeah,
personality.
it's like I get to tell you who you are. Like, I will tell you if you qualify. I don't know. I mean,
Yep.
They do have a list. It's not just person to person.
There is a
However,
list.
the list is about how much you impede upon others.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
What do you mean?
How awkward you are as a substance.
Exactly. Yeah.
How what? Sorry?
Yeah. So
like how little you fit into a system.
To qualify
To
whether
tangent
you are
all the tangents back together.
Yes. To qualify whether you are divergent, they first need, or any divergent, they first need to check how much diverting you do.
The mythological
before they
DSM
then yes.
You have this much.
from which we all diverge.
Yes. That's the difference between
Right, I'm back
Although
on
it's
track.
not a
mildly
linear
and
spectrum.
I'm back in the
This
room.
is interesting then. So this is
Is
your
it?
base. No,
Okay,
it is.
okay.
So
Yeah.
it's based on how much you divert from the normal way of, is it thinking, feeling?
All of the above.
Yeah, if you talk about systems, so it's the idea. I can't believe I'm attempting to educate Dawn. I didn't think we would have this conversation. Right, so just moment. In order to, I don't know.
So it comes
way
from
in
the
which people-
DSM,
the way in which people go. If you're not very good at communicating, or you want to communicate a separate thing, somebody then has to tell you, wait a minute, you don't follow the normal or quasi-normal route of life, so
Which
you may be different.
I realise I've said that a couple of times without qualifying it. So the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Disorders, which is what is used to diagnose in America. We use the ICD-11, which is the International Categorization of Disorders, which is from the WHO, which is the World Health Organization. And I'm acronymed it out. But so that's where diagnosis.
I think there's also a change in moving away from how we understand mental health as well.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
The no labels movement.
Yeah, and also even just like there's a woman who's, I don't know if you ever spoke to her, she's got a CIC, a positive start CIC, and she's she's really cool.
She is really cool.
Yeah, started a sort of, it's like therapy, but it's just a charity shop. You go in, and if you need a bit of therapy, you just go.
She does EFT, yeah.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. and she's done
Emotional
lots.
freedom technique.
Yeah,
Book her as a
yeah.
guest.
Tapping.
Book her as a guest, Amelia. Book her.
Yeah, it
Is she
would be
neurodivergent?
actually. I don't know if she's neurodivergent. Because the
Please
other
write
thing
in.
is as well, I think some of neurodivergence, you know, when you think about it, in my own journey, I'm like, you know, when you diagnose me,
Where is this going? Yeah.
I can see in my family how, like, okay, yeah, I think we all probably are. But also how much trauma is related to
100%.
as a natural
Show
response.
me a non-traumatized neurodivergent.
You know?
And we'll
I
call
will
them
give you a
boring.
prize.
Yeah.
But like how much of having to think differently and outside the box, and actually a lot of it is having to see deeper into. I mean, that's definitely a thing for me. Like knowing that what's on the surface and appears isn't always the
Well,
case.
yeah, and that is a problem because often it's like, oh, doesn't understand, you know, whatever. But it's like actually
Understands
you
too much.
understand where people are coming from emotionally.
Yeah.
But often that is not what they're saying.
Yes.
I
And,
went
the, and the
away. Yeah.
strain of knowing what's really going on, but being told something different
Yeah.
is hard.
At the end of the 3-hour chat where I quasi-diagnosed Dawn, I went to my car and went, is my car still my car? Am I a thing? Like, what does this all mean? Because it was
Technically,
so...
you're like a little mitochondria factory. As
Possibly.
are we all.
But no, I mean... But,
I love
but,
a mind-bending
Yeah.
conversation.
But for me, I mean, just how I felt at the end of it, other than utterly exhausted, my mind was spinning. I just thought it's so up there that if it's not neurodivergent, there's something that society hasn't figured out yet, and Dawn's got the answer. So I don't know if that was a journey towards neurodivergent, but it is genuinely, and that's what I think how it informs what you do. It's the ability to zoom out, look at the entire situation, and then join yourself back in again. Because everybody, it's like a horse with blinkers. We're back to horses again. It's the horse with blinkers. If you only see and we've just re-engaged Kat. No, but if you see your life with blinkers, you see the whole thing, but nobody actually zooms out.
Yeah.
And that usually is the job of, if you can get them, the medical professional.
Yeah.
That is now things like Google.
Yeah.
So, but it's the ability to do that yourself without the
That's pretty cool.
reams of paper that is
Yeah.
so good.
I actually do a lot of practices to strengthen those things as well. Like, but they'd be classed as more spiritual techniques for like enlightenment and transcendence. There's a lot like transmutation, all that stuff. But it really does expand your consciousness and your ability to see things. But again, I don't know how to separate where that came from. Is that born from trauma? Is it born from your
Exactly.
divergence? Is it like how do you? Yeah, it is, and like I can see so many positives of like how, you know, I am very different. I do think very differently, and there's a lot of that leaves me feeling very lonely and isolated, and like a little alien.
Yeah.
And it's kind of heartbreaking sometimes when, you know, you're experiencing that side of things. But I also know that gives it gives me something else. There's something else in there. You
That's
know,
beautiful.
I can create new systems. I can create something new. How many people can say that? Like, you know, and you know, I think one of the biggest things I've been struggling with is the sense of belonging. And definitely in community, I feel like I can sort of relate, and I can visit lots of different places, and I sort of belong in the in-between. So
It's interesting you say that, because I've had that conversation with so many people about exactly that, and it's like you can be in spaces but you don't belong in them.
Yeah.
And they came back at me and were like a bard. And I was like, exactly like a bard. It's like you don't belong anywhere and yet you belong everywhere.
Yes.
Because you're accepted, but then are you accepted as you, or the version of you that people see?
Yeah, that's where I was
Yeah.
going. Like, is there an element of, do I want to belong here?
Well, not belonging in. See, I think of it as like everyone's going round in their own little paradigm of like the
Correct.
way they experience reality.
Yeah.
And most people, or the typical, you know, neurotypical
Yeah.
people, will feel like they belong
paradigm is similar to
in a
others.
shared paradigm, a collective consciousness, whether it's like within their family, the community, the church, a football team, whatever it is. They have this sense of belonging to another bubble that unites them all. And when you don't have that, you can go join, hop into these bubbles and go, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is, and then you're sort of left on the in between. But that gives you the ability to make one through systems of like, okay, so like, I guess the social structure or the structure of this network here of this collective consciousness, they're all bound by even if it's a class thing, you sit up straight, shoulders back, and there's 10 sets of cutlery for each. Do you know what I mean? Or if it's like there's certain things.
It's
Hi, how are you
interesting to
doing?
come
Yes,
around.
yes, I'm very well, thank you. And
Yeah.
it's like everyone's on this kind of like.
I think like even after the day, like you described it in a way that we're all nodding our heads, because I'm the same. I'm a lonely guy, but I'm not alone. I come and meeting people. I've only known these guys for a short while, but I belong here. That sense of belonging is what you
And
feel when you're
belonging
in.
is
got your
a
own
shared
key and
survival
everything.
feeling.
Aye.
So
Yeah.
if you don't have a sense of belonging, that signals to your like lizard brain, which is a term I don't like, problematic, but anyway, to your trauma brain, which I prefer.
Yeah, there you go.
Then that you're not safe if you don't feel that you belong.
This is the
You've answered your own question,
Yes.
by the way.
That's for the
your
social
neurodivergency.
yeah.
That's what you've just explained it. That's it. That's what it feels like for most days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that's where we go to.
I think we were talking earlier before we pressed record about as well a lot of neurodivergent women. I think in the sort of mystical, magical field. Because for me, I've managed to really root a sense of belonging in the in between, in that fluid space of like no thing, everything, unlimited potential. It's magic, That is the place of like mysterious wonder, and like when if you can root yourself in the non-belonging, it's like it's not really non-belonging, it's the potential for to create.
That's a reframe.
Oh,
So
it's
I
like-
think that is why a lot of, because you just said the statistics of like so many neurodivergent women end up, they're into the occult and stuff, and I think that's why like.
I think when you spend that much time out there, like I've referred to it as being out in the wild. Like
Yeah.
until I met this guy, I'm already a diagnosed very young age, but I've been out in the wild for a long time, and that's what it's like. You create your own void, you create your own ways of coping mechanisms, but the world isn't ready for that. The world turns itself on you when you start proving that you're different. But when you get guys like these people, man, in the room, you get to find that there is another way, there is other people, and what works for me might not work for you.
I think
It's a
though as
difference,
well that is because of the social system that we have, the structure that we have that is based on a dualistic and enforced order. I think if the socials, it's keeping it like how, I don't know what the I don't
Go
know.
against
Right,
it.
try again. Social structure. We'll get there.
We're born
Yeah.
into, when you, cause I did a talk on consciousness the other day, so this is at the forefront of my mind, I guess. So thinking about how that develops within us in the sense of free will, when we become conscious that, hang on a minute, I can think things and interpret things for myself. That sense of individuation when we really experience like, I'm separate, I'm different. That is the birth of free will, because you go, I don't have to choose things. I might disagree. I can disagree. I actually do disagree. And that, the experience of that, therefore, is I'm different.
And it's the road less travelled.
And then you're in this really difficult position where you go, to remain within the pack, the tribe, the community, within my family, for survival, I have to now manage how much of an individual I am,
And that is the birth
compared
of
to how much I'm accepted within the community. And like you said with the lizard brain, what else did you call it? The
trauma brain.
Yeah, but it's
But yeah, the inner stops mirroring the outer, because you have to behave in a different way to.
Yeah.
And
which is
we're
cool.
also split into two as well. That we're like, it's that if you look at any spiritual creation story, the first point of it is separation.
Yeah.
And it's like from the separation, like it's like, you know, Adam, you know, they were cast out of the Garden of Eden. It's like, oh, the separation, that distance between, I'm an individual, but I need to be connected to my community.
Because, you know, being out of the tribe was life or death.
Well, yeah, like, yeah, we've got no way of, like, looking after ourselves or feeding ourselves. We rely on the, you know, adults in our lives to,
Exactly. And, you know, and, you know, like prehistoric tribes and stuff.
Exactly.
You know, a human alone wandering the grassland, you'd have just got eaten.
We're a relational species.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to be connected. And you look at people in relationships, when they break up as well, like so many people, like, oh, food, shelter, these are the basic things. When someone's going through a breakup, they don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't do anything. So the
Connection
most
comes
important
first.
thing is connection. And
Stay single and eat. Heard it here first. Heard it here first. Simple noodles, crisps, and all that
Just
stuff.
get the meal for two yourself and just
Yes.
No. So just going back to what you, because it's like everything you said is interesting, but I think not to not go over this point again. Why do you think, as an identifying female, it's the what is a woman thing, as an identifying female, why do you think there is not as many diagnosed females in the neurodivergent community? Because they may have all switched to witchcraft or whatever it is that makes people get through life. But why is that? If there is a community there, if there is a tribe there for people to go to, is that freedom of work?
What's the question?
Right. The question is why. Sorry, I'll frame it again. The question is why isn't there as many neurodivergent
Because the diagnostic
females
criteria were not written for women.
Right. So is that a question of just rewriting it?
I
How does
Yeah,
that
they
work?
did. It's called the disco.
Right, which is
Yeah.
the test I took. Right.
Yeah.
So
So-
okay.
I think also that, like, in terms of the subconscious aspects that we're conditioned, you know, like of society that we're born into.
Yeah.
Performativity.
Women, so, you know, we're born into, you know, very gendered structure of, like, how society works. You know, that is changing. It is changing, but, like, it's still so under the surface, like, it's subconscious.
Heteronormative.
We're not quite aware of how much of the understanding of reality we've inherited that is very gendered in all these different ways. And I think there's a lot of social pressure on women to be the holders of space for community, to be the people who actually facilitate community. So I think it's different for, you know, in terms of gender roles, but this is all feeling very outdated. I don't know how to
There's
really...
a lot of, you know, girls are more socialised to connect with each other and to mask more heavily and people-pleasing and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's just an interesting question to ask, I guess.
Yeah.
So with that knowledge, how does it improve your business with MMC? How does your neurodivergence help what you do?
Well, I guess it wouldn't, like, the desire to create a new system that is more inclusive probably wouldn't have emerged without the direct experience of feeling what that's like.
Outside.
Yeah. And I think my ability to zoom out and observe things in a very, like, systematic and you know, systems thinking way has helped me understand more of the blocks and the things that are actually, you know, causing these things to be a block. I don't know. I guess it's just.
Sorry, what's
it's
the
hard
block?
to separate. It's hard to separate neurodivergent. It's my
It's just who
experience
you
of
are,
reality.
right?
Yeah. It's my way of understanding things. But I think that it's. I wouldn't ever see it as something that is like. I don't know. It's a superpower as much as it is a disability. Like it's
That's
the
a t-shirt.
dichotomy.
That is a t-shirt.
Heard it here first.
Yes.
Yeah. It is.
I would wear that.
is.
It's a
Me too.
superpower, and then as much as it is a disability. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, anyone, And I think this probably comes from more of a unity conscious aspect of my understanding of things, where every single person has a gift
Has a
that they
value.
bring.
Yeah.
You know, they have a very specific viewpoint or an energy, and it doesn't matter if you're neurodivergent or neurotypical. It's we need each other to, like, you know, to bounce off each other, or for even to just exist.
Yeah.
You know, like what is like neurotypical? What does that mean? And like how does that?
It's mythological. It's mythological. I don't believe anyone actually fits.
Is it mythological or is it logical? I mean, would you...
It's Enlightenment male.
But not everything's our fault. As the male race. No, as a spokesman for... No. But I think you're right. I think it is as much a superpower as it is...
I think it evens out. It's like that article that somebody wrote where it's like this person has a PhD and like this person comes home every day from work and like curls up on the rug. By the way, they're both me.
Yeah.
And so it depends what situation you're in.
Somebody made a valid point. It was about, I think it was Rachel. You know, so
okay.
what doesn't make it like a superpower?
Somebody who isn't here.
What about the ones that don't have a superpower? And that got me thinking. You know, like this superpower we have comes with trauma.
Yeah, the myth of the savant
That would be
as well,
my
which is where
Superman
that comes from.
thing. I have trauma.
You know, not everyone who's neurodivergent is a savant. In fact,
That's it.
most of us aren't.
But I guess that's why we're here today, because this will let somebody set somebody free to go, you know, what these four in the room are sitting saying is like, that's me.
Yeah, the more voices, exactly, the
That's
more
me
voices
giving
that
them
we
a
have,
voice,
the more
aye.
people will be able to see themselves.
Superpower of the day, voice.
So we've had the superpower tangent as much as it is a disability tangent. I think that's a good point to potentially... well, I mean, I think that was sort of covered, but
Yes.
we can rehash again if you like. No, okay, that's fine. So that's the end of part 2. I always leave a bit of room to extend part 3 because
Just in
that's where the actual amazing mega tangent comes in, and that's the bit that I think people should skip to, which is wait until
then we'll have to
I
live
know.
up to that every time.
Wait until they finally disagree, and then it's Jerry Springer. No, but yeah,
Security.
I know. we just have Jan that's got earbuds in outside, so I mean, it'll be fine. But please join us in part 3. And as I always say in each of these things, if you don't learn anything from this is not the podcast for you. Yeah, really, genuinely, find something that doesn't have a point. Watch television. I don't know. But yeah, please join us in part 3. Okay, welcome to part 3 of We Speak Tangent. We are still here with Dawn Eva Berry. So let's see if we can frame this question correctly. Are there any things that you do throughout your day that help with your neurodivergence? Are there any coping mechanisms or that you could pass on to listener,
ways
viewer?
of being that help you to be.
Like
Yes.
systems.
Survival
Like,
techniques, as it were.
like systems for getting over some of the barriers type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess one of the biggest barriers for me was I have so many ideas and like there's like kaboom and the reading the book Essentialism really helped me come up with some systems of breaking things down into very clear paths and coming up with a system of what to say no to. So that's been really good. Like, you know, for example, I've set up like a limited company that's for more like corporate stuff, as well as Maiden Mother Crone, which is the community aspect of things, a non-profit. And then I've got my own self-employed bits, and I'm like, you know, starting to understand how all those things fit into like, what am I actually trying to do here? Like separating what bits go where has been actually really, really, really helpful, so, like in immense ways.
So just on that, do you know what you're actually here to do and doing if you've said all of those things out?
Yeah, I guess. And actually, another thing that I found helpful was the human design chart. I don't know if people use. I'm allergic to using like personality profiling in a way that it's like, you know, it's something telling you about you, but as tools for reflection to go, oh, that is really helpful. I do that. That is important to me. You know, just signifies of being able to like be consciously aware. Anything that helps you look at those things to go, oh, there might be a barrier here. That is actually a skill I didn't realize. I think because as well, the things that we're good at, we don't know we're good at them because they're really easy, you know?
True.
And we don't value them because we think, why would anyone value that? It's like the easiest thing. It's like breathing.
It's like that thing about
that's what you should be
experts
doing.
find it really hard to teach because they don't know how they do it.
And somebody's like, wow, and you're like, what? What did you mean?
Yeah.
And actually, the experience of that, when people, you know, when you realise I'm really good at this, it's more disturbing that other people aren't.
That's a point.
You know?
Yeah.
And
that is the point.
The actual experience of that is like, what is going on? Like, how could that be? Yeah.
Why don't you know how to do this?
Yeah.
That's one that comes
You don't have to zoom out to find
and
that.
it's
either.
also scary as well because it
Exactly.
feels so natural. I think sometimes you're like, oh my God, people haven't been considering me in this way. Like, and they don't even know how to. And like, you know, whatever
you
it
realise
is.
that you're framed by other people's reality.
Yeah, and also that like some of the things that we bring to relationships or society or whatever it is, we might never get back.
Yeah.
Do you know what
Very
even
seldom do.
100%.
Yeah.
And even just listening to you know, you sound, this is just me that's saying this, you sound like a free neurodivergent of your own volitions in it. It's like you have this way of conducting yourself and doing these things. It's nice to hear that it does. It's like you've got a free, you give away freely. I'm all about people who give this away and you go in your own wee way. But for people out there like us, it's nice to hear that somebody's just embracing it.
But it's also part of the problem in a business thing. You give away freely. You should be giving away for a fee.
That's true, actually. That has been one of the like a really difficult things. And actually, like we say, it is important, and it's nice to be recognised and valued for those things that we really struggle to create value for. And I think some of the tools, like, you know, the personality ones, I really like the human design one, but that's helped me to recognise some of those places where it's like, this is a value. Other people don't know how to do this, and this is something that they should know how to do. And come into that, like, you know, opinion as well, being like, I do actually expect the world to be better at this. I want the world to be better at this. I actually don't like that people aren't good at this, and I want them to be better. So I'm going to bring this and hope, you know, like, and then when people do start showing up, you're like, oh, thank God, this is...
Because your self-belief in it, you're like, oh, is somebody going to turn up? Is somebody going to come? It's all about self-belief. You know, I normally ask a question that's been in my mind, it's constant eating me up. And normally I go back and I'll ask you to, if you had a wee telephone call and you could go back and you could phone and tell your younger you, but I want to ask you the question, if you could go forward and tell the future you, what would you tell her? What's the important thing if you had that telephone call to go? What would it be?
Wow.
The world sucks.
If I could go forward and tell my future.
So you're in your 80s. You're in a home with a
Maybe
nice
not that
blanket.
far, but-
What would you tell yourself?
Aye.
Just thank you.
That's good.
That's the answer.
That's the answer.
beautiful.
It's like,
Yeah, thanks for keeping going.
because future you is
I
dependent
agree
on you.
with that.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Is
Totally.
future us is waiting on us, but unless we take these leaps of faith and come on podcasts and talk to each other and have a conversation and tell how these people out there actually going to know that we're in here as well. Do you know? It's like we exist in a world, as my friend next to me says here. We exist. And as I
It
always say,
invisibilises us.
aye, we're paralysed by our own magic.
Yeah.
But this sets
That's a
sets some
t-shirt
of us
as
free.
well.
I'll take that one as a t-shirt. But it does, you know, it's nice when we come in and do these podcasts. Obviously, the first bits are nervous, but we don't see that for you because it might be an element of masking. If anybody's watching, you know, it's a part of women are very good at masking more than the males. But you know, there is a sense of that confidence armed with neurodivergence magic. And that's the stuff. And that question what I ask in the past or the future is because, like, if you could, not saying you can't, but If
Oh,
you can
Dawn
go
probably
forward.
could at this point.
Well,
Of all the
you're
people we've
zooming
ever met,
in and
Dawn
out
Eva
and
probably,
forward.
yeah.
Can you tell future
Is it
me?
time for
Listen,
astral travel?
James.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's nice, and it's
It's-
like back
yeah.
to the question. Sorry, Michael,
Carry on.
keep cutting you off because I'm
No,
getting
that's
that.
fine. On you go.
It's nice to belong. You said earlier, you know, I get that. I tell people all the time, I'm lonely, but I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I am not alone. I am in this thing, whatever it be, and every day is different, every podcast is different. We transpire into the future us and going, you know, I said it's going to be all right. It is with the help and the listening. So, aye, thanks for that. I'm rushing things, but you know what? My mind's 500 miles an hour.
You
But
know, we are speaking to the future.
aye, it
All of
is.
us.
It's just if somebody's out there and gets anything for what I just said there, this is what it's all about. No being ashamed of who we are and what we do. I've said it. We're in your houses. We're in your driving your taxis. We're doing everything. Just be that wee bit more careful, runners. You know, we are precious people.
It's nice to be nice. It's better to be good, and it's even better to be valued.
Yes, that's
it.
it. Well said.
Authenticity is where the magic comes from.
You can be the nicest person in the world and still not achieve a thing.
Yeah.
I do.
It's all about authentic.
Who decides what achievement is?
I do also really
You
have
do.
like really difficult things. I mean, I do have some systems in place for like, I think one of the most important ones for me is to make sure I stay on top of my morning routines and night routines, because
same.
I do also, as much as like, this is, you know, thanks for, you know, seeing me and hearing me and all those things, but I do have the days where if I'm not on top of those things,
Can you tell us those?
I can't get up. If I don't know what I'm doing that day and I feel overwhelmed by like, oh, there's so many things on, if I don't get through my morning routine, if I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to get dressed. If I
Can
don't
you
know how to
tell
get
us your
dressed, I
morning
can't get
routine?
on.
That's what I'm asking. Can you tell us your morning routine? What does it look like to you? What does
It's
a
a
good
bit
day?
quasi-personal, is it now?
Well, what does a good
My
day?
God.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm very, very, I do. Magic is a huge part of my life, and you know, so the first thing I do is I'm working on this a tarot course. So,
Cool.
I am currently meditating on the Empress. As
Nice.
you know, it's the Builders of the Item course is very good. So I start the day with that because I'm in between the, you know, conscious unconscious realms of like, you know, just coming out of sleep, and then I do a morning ritual that's part of very the lesser pentagram invoking ritual, and I have some coffee, and it's a very specific thing as well. Like I either have it on the timer or I put it in like a little plunger thing. Like it's a real ritual of like, oh God.
In the cafetiere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I walk the dog. Before this, I've washed my face. Oh God, I can't even remember my routine. Do the tarot, get up, wash my face, say a little thing while I'm doing that as well. So I'm very intentional about like those bits. I have actually weaved so much magic and intention into like the, you know, smallest little parts of things. And it helps me feel really comfortable in my body as well, actually. That's another thing. Yeah, I only have like 2 sets of like bedding, and it's like silk pillowcases and like the most. But it's just I have to
almost
feel good
witchy.
in my
Oh my
body.
God.
So yeah, I only have 2 because one off, one on,
Yeah,
one off, one off. I
exactly.
get that.
I have a washable duvet.
Aye, man.
Whereas
You
I have more
dispensed of
than
the duvet covers.
I have far more than 2 sets of bedding.
Yeah.
That's poverty to me. Why?
I only have 2,
That
but
was
they
my childhood.
really have to be. Yeah, but so you know, do the tarot from bed, and then do my like getting myself ready, do my ritual, take the dog for a walk. Yeah.
Good for you. The only reason I ask stuff like that is because I have a similar routine, but you have to go to work in yourself, because I imagine you work with a lot of people, and it does get tiring as neurodivergents and humans. You must go to work on yourself before you work with others. It's so important.
Correct.
Doesn't matter what kind of magic that you have, because magic comes in all different forms, man. You get your own magic, and it sounds like you've found it. You know, that's what the aim of the game is here. You know, neurodivergency is our own magic to do whatever we do, but you find that right formula, and then you get what you've got. So,
and tapping into the essence of life stuff as well is really important. Like, you know, like feeling into being held in something greater than just myself, and feeling supported in that as well. So that is it's really important to me, and it does help me through the rest of my day to feel held and supported spiritually like that.
That's beautiful.
And when I go on my walk with the dog as well, I'm so sensory. I love touching the moss, and like there's always like I walk a specific route, and it's like looking at the river, and sometimes there's salmon jumping and the heron there, and it's like, and it just feels, I start my day with so much magic, and it follows me.
So that's so that's the morning. So then you get to about 12, and what happens? Like it's midday.
Oh, so
that's just the morning.
That's just the morning. Yeah. Then so maybe I'm ready to go from like 10 a.m. or something, and I'm like yeah.
Do you carry that thread throughout the whole day?
I'm kind of excited about getting stuff done. Yeah. I have time buttons. Sometimes actually though, I'll schedule in some more stuff for me. So I don't know if you've seen Mind Valley. There's so many really good courses on there for. I've done it actually a few on there for time management. There's the life book course as well. It's good about getting really clear on visioning and like how to structure life in different aspects. There's loads of courses on there. So sometimes I like to start the day with a bit more me stuff, especially if the rest of the day I'm holding space for others more.
That's cool.
I even like into my time blocking as well. I'll definitely schedule in. So I've scheduled in my morning routine. I schedule in lunch, schedule in dinner, and I even schedule in relationships time in green, where I'm like, you know, like I get hyper focused, so I really get like involved in tasks, you know, and like I enjoy it. Like it's like, but I try and make sure that all the important things in my life, because I have this huge sense of there's never enough time. Oh my God, there's never enough time.
Time blindness.
So I create time in my
Or not.
in my calendar. I look at my time and I'm creating time for this person, or for my relationships, for myself, for my morning, and it feels so much better than a poverty mindset of like there's never enough. It's like I get to make it, and it's like that feels good.
Okay, man, you got to put yourself first. That's important.
Yeah,
That is important. Okay, right.
How many of those learning techniques can be used for your business? If this is a network, do all of those help in your actual business in terms of delivery and how it works, and what support could you potentially reach out to? Because there will be funders and people that watch this podcast to go, we have a neurodivergent business person, how can we help?
I am too independent and have actually, I bet a lot of other people like this. I'm too used to not being understood or not being seen or heard or recognised, or people not saying, like, do you need a hand with anything? I'm actually, a lot of the time, the first person other people ring and ask, can I help them?
Oh, yes.
And
there's
it's
a difference between being authentic to yourself and being authentically seen by other people.
Yeah, and I think so. The thing that would help more would be like other people actually helping. There's too many products and like systems of of doing it yourself. Some kind of delegation thing. I think there's some things that you just need to be able to like not be good at. Or just at least be like, I am not good at this. Someone else should do it.
I'll try one more time. Is there anything that you're not good at?
No.
Okay, right.
No, that was the south of Scotland. No, we just like to say it before all of the sentences.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're not good at? I'm not good at funding applications.
Right. Okay.
I am not good at answering questions that have just been written on. I need to know the intention. Why are you asking me this question?
100%.
What is it that you're trying to understand about me or the project? Like, and what context, like what mindset are you even thinking from? Are you talking in a linear way? I don't know how to answer the question.
No, exactly.
I get really freaked out when someone's just like, so tell me about your project, and you're like, what do you want to know? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's
Totally.
it's everything. Like, where do you start? Where's the like where are you in this for me to start talking about? Do you even like if it's about chaos and systems and what language do I use? What is their framework for like being able to like?
And you can't even always infer that from the questions, because quite often the people that write it are not the people that are going to read it.
Yeah, I really struggle. I really struggle with those things. But
so here's a question that I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
So what if there was a neurodivergent panel of people who you would be putting a form into? How would that put you?
It wouldn't be a form.
Aye, well, not a form. If you were to put anything
I think
in,
it still would be a form, because we have to figure out what it is.
if something in the future, would that be something that would put you at ease, knowing that these guys or people, women, whatever, are going to open it and go, and think the way you've thought and see what you've done?
You know what it is? The difference, I think, that in the neurotypical mindset paradigm, yeah, the solid physical thing is what has value. And in mine, at least, it's everything that was before to create that thing.
Yes.
So when I meet you, it's not about, oh, you're this solid person. It's like, what motivates you? What drives you? What's going on in your inner world? What makes you most excited? What makes your soul feel alive? Like, what is the essence of you? Like, where have you come? Do you know, like all those things? So when someone asks me about it, it's like going one way or the other way. It's about, is it the solid thing? So when you fill the form out, if it's a neuro like typical, it'd be like, what are the outcomes?
I get that, because I want to know where that form's gone and what because that's what we do, and I want to know, have you read that? Did you read what I thought? Did you know my words in there? Did you see all the work?
But
Did
you look at my passion, look what I'm doing, what this thing that I'm trying to create.
It's like facilitating someone else's authenticity. Sounds like nothing in that framework, but is in fact everything.
Was just try to give another avenue. If somebody was there and we had a board of people that were neurodivergent and knew how this thing worked.
Asking in to see what it is, rather than
Would it be a
me
conversation?
trying to fit it into what they want it. Is it, do you know?
It's that box. I always talk about the box. We don't conform to any box other than the one in my company logo. There's no box.
There's a sort of violence in solidification of like, you know, in language when you can say, you are a man. That you're not just a man, you know, and how do you get to say what I am? What you've not even tried to get to know me. Yeah, but I can see.
Here's on to my thing, because I went on a tangent there, right? But it's like you're applying for funding, but is it no great that you've not got funding and you've managed to get this far without the funding, without somebody going, I own you and you will do this?
Yeah.
That's the whole point, you know. Us as neurodivergents get to create these things on our own terms and create a world of our own volition. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with somebody's funding, yes, it would get us to the next level, but it's their level, not your level.
It's also just like having someone. Do we really need to seek other people's approval? That, like, what were you thinking, Michael? There, I saw a frown. What is it?
I think there has to be a certain amount of give and take.
Yeah.
I think that's why there is a neurodivergent entrepreneurs network. Like, there will be a system there that we all have to go, unless we run on a mythical coin, there has to be what gets you from point A to point B. So if the question is what you're not good at and it's funding applications, then perhaps the way that it's communicated could be different, but the end product will be probably the same, in the sense that essentially with Say and with all the business support, it's getting you to that point. So
It's somebody who understands the language of funding, understanding your conversation and then melding it together. It's not making you be good at funding.
I also think that it's coming from the wrong way in terms of like, why is it the funders that get to say what needs to be funded?
True.
Shouldn't it be
Because it's
the
their
people?
money.
Yeah, but how if they don't know where to put that money? Like,
Yeah.
like if we're there being like new things need to be born.
Yes.
There is other places that do fund stuff that are, this is yours. We love, that's what I was trying to say, that we love what you've got, and your product and your formulas are amazing. And that's that's what needs to be tapped into.
But what if it's not a product or a
Well,
formula?
that's
but
just
it's-
use product or formula
A
as
social change is very different than so that's why I've set up like, you know, a limited company
Socialism,
which
isn't
will
it?
have like products, but then the more community aspect, the social aspect, building community isn't a product, and like changing social structures and the people's understanding and perceptions of reality, you can't really sell that to people.
Because you can't measure the new system in the old system.
Yeah, and it's also like it doesn't fit within capitalism. Like we have governance and capitalism, and governance is supposed to be looking after like systems and like social structures and
But
systems
it is
and
also reliant
regulation.
on funding.
Yes.
But it's like, but that isn't the minute. That's not really how it's working. Like they're taking a lot of payouts. I mean, like there's so many things that happen where are they getting their money from? And like, did you know?
Yeah.
It's like, hang on a minute.
when you
Like,
find out you
who
tell
is
me where we're
actually
getting the money.
responsible? Like if you go, things aren't working well socially.
No.
Who is responsible for going, right, we need to make some change, some social change on a structural level, on a foundational level. We need it's falling apart. That's what we're experiencing in the world just now. Who's responsible for doing that? We're watching it fall apart, and everybody's struggling and trying to get up for some breath. And I'm like, we need to change the social. Oh, sorry, that doesn't fit. What product is it that you do?
But it's
You know,
like that's-
sorry, what is that? I'm
That's
like,
why
where
there's
is
a
it?
camera there and we've got mics. This is the part of it.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking that. It
Yeah.
doesn't
It's
matter.
that balance of you can only change the
Aye.
system from within the system, but also the system is the problem.
And it doesn't matter if you call it a product, a wisdom, a wise, anything. It's what you've got. That's the important thing. Aye.
Yeah. It's just within the systems that already exist and who's gatekeeping the money at the end of it. It's like, I mean, we didn't get the funding, and that's how we ended up, you know, setting up the CIC, the non-profit,
So
me and
that's your
Mary.
chaos that
Yeah.
grew. That's
So
And
it.
hopefully
then
you've
we've-
gone towards more funding.
And I've all the funding applications we've put in have been rejected, so I am bad at them apparently.
It is frustrating. It's really frustrating.
But yeah, actually, I think that we've ended up creating more things in more of a product base, so people can can come along to buy a ticket and join a conversation
into,
that makes a
yeah.
difference. So actually, it's instead of it working as it should in a governance or community social social way, it's we're having to do it in a more capitalist way of sort of selling people tickets with a product, you know, fancy picture and getting it out on social media. And I feel a bit weird about it because I'm like, you know,
Yeah, it's
It'll
not as in the
happen.
flow.
I believe it will happen. So I think
So do
we need to. We're going out of time, but we'll definitely take
Yeah.
up this conversation off camera. I'm quite interested.
Thank you so much.
So hand over to Michael.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Dawn. By the way, here's a thing that we always do. The Frangipan Bakery has sort of provided cakes. Did you get a chance to sample? And what is your favourite cake?
I think the chocolate brownie one was, I'd say that was probably my favourite.
Was it dark chocolate and cherry brownie today?
Yes, the cherries, yes.
Brilliant. So I think this will be a sort of part 2, part 3, part 4 interview because you're the sort of person that we could tangent for ages. All of your links and socials will be in the show notes. But thank you so much for joining us. You're a dear friend, and I'm sure we'll have conversations. And I'll still be exhausted. And I'll still be trying to work out what, why, and how. But Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
If you could all follow us on socials, we are getting better.
Please like and review.
Yes, like, subscribe, review. Keep comments nice. That would be good.
And the peer-to-peer.
Yeah, our peer-to-peer is it's started now. Yeah. So yes, by the time this comes out,
We'll have, yes. Please find out about it if you don't already know. We are on Facebook. It will be on the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network socials when it's happening. Please join us.
Thank you very much indeed to the South of Scotland Enterprise for providing this building and this glass box for which we podcast in. It's wonderful to have their support, and we will be linking up with them in terms of business support, thanks to Hoyk Business Centre. But for now, at least, I've been Michael.
I've been James.
And I've been Kat.
And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the We Speak Tangent podcast, brought to you by the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network in partnership with South of Scotland Enterprise.